Good morning, everyone. It is Thursday, November the 21st, 2019. It is currently 7:52 a.m. Central Time, and we are back with another live broadcast for the Spreaker app. Now, if you are not listening to us as we are actually live and on the air, but you hear a recording of this live broadcast, please do me a favor. Take a few moments, go to the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store. Do a search for Spreaker. That's Spreaker, Spreaker. The app will read Spreaker Podcast Radio. Please download that app. Once you have the app downloaded, do a search for VBC. That stands for Victory Baptist Church. That is us. Once you find us, make sure you tap the little star to make us a favorite. And please, I beg you, follow us. If you are already using the Spreaker app, please follow us. That gives us a notification letting us know that you're using the Spreaker app. That information is absolutely critical. And here's the reasons it's critical. You'll be doing me a major favor, because right now we're involved in this major, it's almost a tragedy now, with our standalone church app. You notice I didn't promote the standalone church app because right now it looks like it's going away because two companies are merging and nobody can communicate and we don't know what's going on, and it's been over almost a month and they've charged $140. I'm not going to recount the horrible tragedy, but it's just been a mess. And so we are moving things to the Spreaker app for now, and we need to get everyone using the Spreaker app. And right now, the numbers, not so good. And the only way, and when I say numbers, it's the numbers of those following us. Numbers of our broadcast are still doing good, but it's posted all over the place. So we have people listening to us on Spotify, on the music streaming service Deezer. We have people listening to us on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. I mean, you name it, we're all over the place. So the only thing I need to know is who's using the Spreaker app. All right, so if you're using the Spreaker app, following us is very important. All right, but I'm not here to go through all of that. But I do want people to at least be aware that by following us on Spreaker, you make my life much better. All right, so thank you. Okay, all right, enough silliness, because, well, we got a crazy story to talk about. All right, this is insane. This really is. I want everyone to pay close attention, all right? You may want to write down some notes here, because you may not even believe what I'm about to report. You may not believe it. Some of you will. But this is so important. So we're going to have to lay a foundation here, right? Now, I know for the members of Victory Baptist Church, you're already starting to laugh, because you know the minute I say we're going to need to lay a foundation, we need to build a foundation, you know that means the introduction to this is going to be extremely long. And I know that sometimes people joke about that, but I'm not going to apologize, at least in this case, because in this particular case, the foundation here is extremely important, all right? I'm going to be reporting on a situation, and this situation is going to deal with, it's going to deal with President Trump. It's going to deal with President Obama. It's going to deal with the immigration policy of the United States of America. However, this is not about President Trump. This is not about Obama, and this is not even about the immigration policy of the United States of America. That's not what the focus of this live report is. The focus of this live report is truth. The focus of this live report is the news media. Instead of just pursuing truth, they pursue a narrative and pursue facts that support their narrative. That is a dangerous thing to everyone who lives in the United States of America. We need a news media to report facts. And we want the news media to report facts, whether they offend us, whether we agree with them. We want the news media to report facts, whether they help our quote-unquote favorite politician or whether they bring down and destroy our favorite politician. We want the news media to report facts, even if they make our religion look bad. We don't want a news media that supports our team. We want a news media to report the truth. If you're a Republican, you don't want a pro-Republican news media. You want a news media that reports the truth. If you are a Republican, you don't want a pro-Democrat news media. You don't want just an anti-Democrat news media. If you're a Democrat, you should not want a pro-Democrat news media or an anti-Republican news media. You want a news media to report the truth. Right? And you should do everything in your power not to just go to sources that are pro your side. You want facts. You want truth. Sometimes the truth isn't convenient for your side. Sometimes it's detrimental for your side. You should want truth above political party. You should want truth above ideology. You should want truth above philosophy. You need facts. You need the truth. And I've told this story countless times, but when I was young, very young, I would wake up every day and read the Abilene Reporter News. My mom always made sure we had the newspaper, and she basically told me, you have to read the newspaper, and this is what she said. If you don't know what's happening in your world, you're stupid. All right, my mom was very blunt. She did not graduate from high school, but she said we need to know what's going on in our world. And if you don't know what's going on in your world, and she would also tell me this, if you don't know what's going on in your world, then keep your mouth shut, because you shouldn't be speaking about what's going on in the world unless you know exactly what is going on. And so I would read the newspaper. Now, on the very front page, at the very top, it would say Abilene Reporter News, and underneath that, there was a famous quote. With or without offense, to friend or foe, we tell of the world exactly as it goes. With or without offense to friend or foe, we tell of the world exactly as it goes. There was something about that quote that was so powerful to me. I didn't quite completely understand it as a child. And then as I got older, I began to go, yeah, okay, they're going to tell me the truth whether I like it or not. And we want the truth. And I'm going to tell people the truth whether they like it or not. And I still try to maintain that same philosophy. We want a news media to tell us the truth. But if the news media conveniently gives us some facts, and then they will delete said facts if it doesn't go with the narrative they want, you can't trust that. And I think we're reaching a point where more and more people can't trust the news. Now, here's the danger. People can't trust the news, so guess what they do? They just go try to find someone who basically agrees with their perspective, and that's the only one they're going to listen to. Well, that's not helpful. What you have to do is listen to news from multiple sources and then do your own investigation to try to figure out the truth, which is frustrating that that's what's required. But if you really want to know what's going on, you can't do that. You can't just say, oh, the news reported this, it has to be true. You have to go, this is what the news reported. However, now I need to do a lot of research. And that is extremely frustrating. All right. So that I want to make sure we lay that foundation about. This is going to be about the news media and about what the news media that we need. I want to stress that we need a news media giving us the facts. We need that, not just a news media that supports with our views. Okay. I don't want a news media that's pro-Christian. Okay. I don't want a news media that's anti-Christian. I want a news media that reports the truth, whether it makes Christianity look good or if it makes Christianity look bad. Right? That's what we need. All right. I want to make sure we lay that foundation. All right. How do we set this up? I'm going to try to put this in some kind of chronological order. All right. Earlier this week, I started seeing these news reports. The United States of America is holding a record number of migrant children in immigration detention centers. In fact, I think I have one of the reports. I think it's still on the AP News app. Let me open up the AP News app. It may still be there. Yes, here it is. From the AP News app, the United States held record number of migrant children in custody in 2019. All right. I started seeing that going around. I also started seeing this report. More than 100,000 children are being held in migrant-related U.S. detention centers. I started seeing that report. Now, I started seeing the report. I heard the report. I try to listen to these 5-minute news updates at the top of the hour. I try to listen to a number of them from a number of different sources. I'll try to go to some hours I forget, some hours I remember. Sometimes I'll go back and try to catch up. Now, this is important. I would hear these reports, And I started thinking, man, that's a lot of children. 100,000 children, record number being held. That's not good. And why are all these children being held? And man, this is going to have a major impact, I bet, on the election, because people are going to hear this report and be like, man, Trump is just locking up all these children. And I bet you there's going to be pictures. And I'm like, this is going to possibly have an impact on the election. And I'm like, well, I wonder what the truth is. I said something along that line, but I never got to doing a lot of research. Now, before I now move this story forward chronologically, we do need to stop right here, though, and consider something. This is an important context to those kinds of reports. When I saw those reports, I also started thinking, the news media always, the way they describe it sometimes, it almost, now I'm not saying this is what they say, but it almost feels like this. It almost makes it feel like, hey, the United States of America just went over to that country and just grabbed 100,000 children. Let's remember the actual facts here, okay? Let's remember the actual facts, all right? So I'm just going to go through a number of things for context sake. Whenever we see a news report that says the United States of America is keeping more migrant children in custody, it's a record number, more than 100,000. And they show photos of children behind some cage, and you're like, or it was signed behind some fence. And sometimes the news media will have these photos behind a barbed wire fence. And here's all these children. And you're like, man, they're locked up like they're criminals. Let's just stop, and we need a broader context. Right, so let's make sure we establish some facts before we get to this crazy report. Are you ready? Here are some facts. Whenever you see reports about people being detained, immigrants, migrants being detained, let's make sure this is absolutely established fact. This doesn't, and I'm not saying this to support a political party. This is just truth. The United States of America have immigration laws. If you enter into our country illegally, you can be detained. And if you bring a child with you, whether you are the adult or an accompanying adult, whether you are the parent or whether you're an accompanying adult, that child will too be detained. And yes, there are times the children are separated. Now, sometimes they may be separated from a parent. Sometimes they're separated from the adult because they don't know if that's the child's parent or not. And they have to figure this out. And there could be other reasons that this could occur. But they're separated. All right? And whether you agree on the separation or don't agree with the separation, the point is the way they end up in detention, the way they are placed in a migrant detention center is because they were captured crossing into a country illegally. Now, some people don't like that, but countries around the world have laws saying you cannot cross into our country illegally. Well, the United States of America is not the only country that has this kind of law. There's plenty of countries saying, hey, you come into our country and we catch you into our country illegally, we will detain you and we will lock you up. I want you to consider this. Countries are not the only one who have those kinds of laws. Everyone listening to me, you have a home. If someone who's in a horrible situation, they're homeless, they're at the bottom of life, they don't know where else to turn, and they see your home, and they decide to enter into your home illegally one night, maybe they try to come through the window, they come through the back door, they try to come through the garage, and you hear them, you are going to contact the police. And you're going to have that person removed and detained and locked up. Why? Because they tried to enter into your home illegally. If they enter onto your property illegally and set up residence, you're probably going to contact the authorities, right? And have them removed because there are laws about property. There are no trespassing signs. You can't enter anywhere you want, whenever you want, because your situation is horrible. You're homeless. You're hungry. So you're just going to go into someone else's property and get what you need. Now, I understand you may be driven to do that, but there are laws. And trust me, every person wants those laws enforced. You don't want people just entering into your house illegally. Now, you may be more than happy if they knock on the door and say, hey, I'm homeless. My children are starving. Can we live with you? You are free to open that door, let them come in, feed them, clothe them, and take care of them. But you will want them to knock on the door, not enter into the back door of your house at the middle of the night. In some parts of the country, like in Texas, where everyone owns a gun, you may find yourself being shot by entering into someone's house illegally in the middle of the night. That's just the way it works. Businesses operate that way. Homes operate that way. Schools operate that way. You can't just enter onto a school campus without permission. You have to get permission. There's all kinds of rules about that. Countries operate the same way. I don't know why it's so controversial in 2019. You're telling me that if someone enters our country illegally, they could be detained? Are you crazy? And you literally have people marching, no borders. Now, I guarantee you they have borders around their home and they have locks on their doors and and I want you to try to imagine how that would work. Every country that is collapsing and it's falling apart, all those people can just come into our country. Now, how are we going to support them when we can't even, in some cases, provide enough social services for the people in the United States of America? Now, I'm not saying any of that to support a political agenda. It's not about a political agenda. It's not about being Republican or Democrat, being pro-immigrant or anti-immigrant. It's just about facts and truth and laws. All right? Those are just facts. That is context. Now, please note, this is very important. Every person who tries to enter into our country illegally, they are a human being and they need to be treated as a human being, not just as an illegal immigrant. They need to be treated with some kind of dignity and respect, especially from a Christian perspective. They're a human being created in the image of God. And yes, multitudes of them are coming into this country because their situation is horrible. Their situation is falling completely apart and they don't know what else to do. And they're coming to America to try to better their life and try to provide a better life for their child. I understand that. And maybe they can't enter into the country illegally because that system is so backed up and they don't know what else to do and they're desperate. If I was in another country and everything was falling apart, I too may try to cross the border illegally for my children if I was that desperate. Now, I could call into question that sometimes trying to enter a country illegally with your children with you may not always be the best idea, because if you are caught, guess what's going to happen? You're going to end up locked up. And that means your child's going to end up being locked up. But it doesn't stop people from still trying to do so. We have seen reports of people trying to enter into this country illegally, and something horribly happens when they're trying to cross. And we've got the picture of the father and the child that drowned trying to cross. I think it was the Rio Grande, trying to cross it to come into the United States of America. Tragedy, horrible. But again, please note, they were trying to cross the country illegally. And I want to make this very clear. The United States government is not going over to other countries and just rounding up 100,000 children and locking them up. They are being brought to this country illegally by an adult, whether it's a parent or an accompanying adult, and they are being caught and detained. This is about breaking laws that countries have in regards to who can enter and who cannot enter. There's a legal way, there's an illegal way. You're caught doing it illegally, you will be detained. Now, you may not like the law. You may decide, you may be one of those people who say there should be no borders and there should be no laws. Okay, great. Now, I guarantee you won't be consistent, because I bet you have an immigration policy at your house. Because I bet you don't let every homeless person in your city move into your house. I bet you restrict the people in your house, but you don't want the country to be able to restrict anyone. Okay, again, we got to think these things through carefully. This is what I would say. People are detained if they did so because they entered the country illegally. That's a fact. Yet we need to maintain a correct perspective on the people and not treat them as monsters, but as human beings who are creating the image of God. And that immigration policy, immigration issues these debates cannot be resolved on Twitter. They cannot be resolved in short social media posts where people just argue and yell. No, these are complicated issues that require being nuanced and understanding the perspective from different sides and trying to look at these issues not from the side of your political party. Right? And I will definitely say this: these situations also require not having a president of the United States of America who hops onto Twitter to say inflammatory things. That's not helpful either. All right. In fact, I say that once politics get involved in these situations, it almost becomes it destroys the ability to fix it, because then everyone breaks and decides. If your side says this is how you should view illegal immigration, then you think you take your marching orders from your political party. Don't take your marching orders from your political party. You want truth. You want the facts. What are the laws? How should we handle this? And then you'll realize solutions are complicated, because there's countries where people are suffering, where people are starving, where people are dying. Okay, the United States of America can't fix all of them, but what can be done? How can we have a humane immigration policy? How can we work this for the better of people? I don't know. It's a complicated situation, but you do need that context. You do need that context. And again, it's not about Trump. It's not about immigration policy. I want truth. I want facts. Well, the news media, as I stated, was reporting, or I don't even know if I stated this yet. And if I get some of these things out of order, I apologize. I tried to do a live broadcast a little earlier, and we lost connection due to something happening. So this is another one. So I'm trying to remember, did I say this in the previous live broadcast or this one? But I will more than happy repeat myself if I can just keep this straight. So let's those are some foundations. We've laid some foundations. We want the facts. And whenever we talk about illegal immigration and children being detained, the news media, all these reports that children are being detained, record number of children being detained, more than 100,000 children being detained. When we start reading all these kinds of reports, we need to place them in a broader context of how they end up in detention centers. America's not going to get them. They're coming here. They're being detained because they entered into the country illegally. Now, I know the children don't have a choice. An adult's bringing them. But still, they enter into the country illegally, and they have to be detained in some way. Now, we need to speak of illegal immigrants in a respectful way, definitely not using any form of racial slurs. We need to be respectful. They're human beings created in the image of God. And we want what's best for them, but we also have to have an immigration policy that is good for the country. And how you balance all of those things are complicated. All right? Everyone have that in mind. Okay, so the news media has been reporting, and again, I think I've already stated this, but let me just go back and put this together. U.S. held record number of migrant children in custody. Right? That's a report that was going around. Another report was going around. More than 100,000 children were being held in migration-related U.S. detention. 100,000. Record number. All right? Okay, you see all of these reports. This is a big deal. Now, if these are accurate facts, they should be reported. Make this very clear. If the numbers are accurate, they need to be reported. They need to be reported accurately. And if it makes the current president look bad, so be it. If it makes the current president look good, so be it. Just report the facts. Don't spin it. Don't give us an opinion. Just give me the facts. So these numbers were being reported all over the place. I can't say all over the place, but they definitely were being reported. I mean, I got two examples right there, and based off what happened, clearly it was being reported. All right, so these numbers. All right. Now, this is where the story just takes an absolute crazy turn. I mean, this is crazy. You ready? This is crazy. Last night, I see this, and I have the screenshot to prove this, right? I have a screenshot to prove this. Okay, well, I'll back up before I give you this screenshot. So make sure we understand these numbers were being reported. Now, the more than 100,000 number, that was being reported by an independent UN expert who during a news conference this week in Geneva, he reported that more than 100,000 children were being held in migration-related U.S. detention centers. So we had this guy, a UN expert, this week at a press conference saying, hey, more than 100,000 children are being detained. We have the AP News saying, hey, record number of children are being held. Again, I heard this report on the top of the hour news updates. So this was going around, right? I thought, well, I need to research this, but okay, we'll have to try to find out the facts. All right. Then all of a sudden, last night, this is just crazy. I have the screenshot to prove this. The AFP news agency, they send this out on social media, on Twitter. AFP is withdrawing this story. What story are they withdrawing? Well, this is the original news report that was posted on November the 18th. I have the screenshot. Breaking. More than 100,000 children in migration-related U.S. detention. That was the original story. More than 100,000 children in migration-related U.S. detention. And they're saying that that's right now, as we speak. On November the 18th, more than 100,000 children were being detained. Now, again, we've got the context of why they would be detained. They entered into the country illegally. Okay, we talked about all of that context. But this is the reports that's going around. This could have profound implications on the election. All these children are being detained. Wait for video. Wait for the photographs. People are going to be like, man, what is going on? Why is our country doing this? Why are all these people being locked up? All right? And the news media is going to report that. They're not going to place those numbers in any context of previous presidents. No. They're just going to say Trump is doing this. Trump is locking these people up. Some will report it almost as if he's racist and just, locking all these people up because of the color of their skin. All right. So and sometimes that is implied in certain reports. All right. So, okay. Why are they withdrawing that story? Now, again, let me go back to the screenshot, or I have the Twitter feed up for this news agency. Why are they withdrawing the story? They're just going to withdraw the story. Oh, what's going on? Is that 100,000 children number incorrect? Listen, this is what they say. AFP is withdrawing the story. The author of the report has clarified that his figures do not represent the number of children currently in migration-related U.S. detention, but the total number of children in migration-related U.S. detention in 2015. We will delete the story. No, wait. Did you catch that? The number 100,000 is incorrect, but it was the correct number in 2015. They're going to delete the story. Whoa. Slow down. Why are you going to delete the story? All you need to do is keep the story and correct it. In 2015, more than 100,000 children were being kept in detention in U.S. immigration detention centers. That's all you're going to do to correct the story. Keep the story. Let everyone know that in 2015, more than 100,000 children were being detained in U.S. detention centers. Yeah, or immigration detention centers. Want to make sure the story is correct. Just keep the story. They're going to delete the story. Why would they delete it and not simply correct it? Well, let me walk over here for a second. Because I have someone in my study who's very, very smart. And I want you to listen to them. All right? Are you ready? Okay. All right. We're going to do a live interview on the air. Hey, Google, who was president of the United States of America in 2015?
Barack Obama served as President of the United States from 2009 until 2017.
Wait, what? Barack Obama was President of the United States of America in 2015? Are you telling me that in 2015, President Barack Obama, a Democrat president, had more than 100,000 children in detention centers? Now, I don't remember in 2015 this being a big news story. I don't remember this being much of a controversy. I don't remember seeing photographs all over the news media of children behind barbed wire fences and in cages being locked up. But now they report this week 100,000 children are being detained in U.S. detention centers. This is an outrage. Wait. I'm sorry. That number is from 2015. We're going to delete the story. We're going to delete it. Nothing more to see here. Move on. Just move on. No. Let everyone in America know that in 2015, more than 100,000 children were being locked up. Let everyone know that. Now, why? Oh, are you ready for this? This is just crazy. I have the AP News app on my iPad. This is crazy. U.S. held record number of migrant children in custody in 2019. All right. Now remember, a record number. Now, in 2015, we're already being told that 100,000, more than 100,000 were being detained in 2015. Now we're in 2019. Now, if you read this story, they have this this story about this 3-year-old girl, how she traveled for weeks, cradled in her father's arms as he set out to seek asylum in the United States. Now she won't even look at him after being forcibly separated at the border by government officials, sexually abused in U.S. foster care, and deported. So there's this horrible story. Now, I want to make this very clear. It is a tragic story. Now, they're going to report it this way because they want your heartstrings to be broken, and they should be broken. You have a 3-year-old brought into this country, end up in foster care, is sexually abused and deported. Yes, horrible. Now, again, how did they end up here? They came into the country illegally. Oh, well, it says sought asylum, so I don't know. If they were deported, I don't know. So we'd have to go through here again. All right. So they talk about how this story, and again they give you this story because you're like, man, what is happening? How we don't want 3-year-olds to be brought into our country and detained and end up sexually abused in foster care and then deported. This is horrible for this family. We don't want that, and I understand we don't want this kind of human tragedy. We don't want it. But here's what blows my mind. Here's this, after they give you the sad story, they report this. This month, new government data shows the little girl is one of an unprecedented 69,550 migrant children held in U.S. government custody over the past year. Now, wait a minute. 69,000. Now, remember the headline? U.S. held record number of migrant children in custody. But we were just told that 100,000 was held in 2015. 69,000 is less than 100,000. But the headline says it's a record. I'm confused. Now, listen to what they say. This month, new government data shows the little girl is one of an unprecedented 69,550 migrant children held in the U.S. government custody over the past year. Enough infants, toddlers, and kids and teens to overflow the typical NFL stadium. Well, if 69,000 can overflow the typical NFL stadium, what can 100,000 do? And 100,000 is a number that reflects the 2015 data, according to the news, that's now going to delete that story. And it says, and this is happening even though the U.S. government has acknowledged that being held in a detention can be traumatic for children, putting them at risk of long-term physical and emotional damage. Well, I believe that holding a child in detention is traumatic for children and it could have long-term impact. I do believe that. But they didn't end up in that detention center because the U.S. government went and grabbed them out of their home. They were placed in that detention center because an adult brought them into a country illegally. All right. Okay, this is what they do. The nearly 70,000 migrant children who were held in government custody this year, up 42% in fiscal year 2019 from 2018. Now, no, it's a record because it's an increase from 2018. Guess what number they're not giving me? They don't give me the 2015 number. They give me the 2019 number. They give me the 2018 number. I'm going through the article. Guess what they don't mention? They don't mention how many children were being detained in 2015. Now, I want you to just see, that's absolutely misleading. That is creating a fake narrative. Now, yes, that story about the 3-year-old girl is tragic. But see, they're telling it in a way like, oh, look at this. See how horrible it is? America is detaining all these children. You see how evil America is? Okay, well, if America is evil in 2019 for detaining 69,000, and that's up from 2018 numbers, okay, so that means 2018 was less than 2019. Okay, I don't know the 2017, 2016 numbers, but we know that in 2015, when Trump wasn't even in office, okay, and in fact, we just heard from Google. In fact, let's go back and ask the all-knowing Google. Okay, I think Siri may be smarter. Now, Google may be smarter. I don't know. That's a whole different story. But here we go. Hey, Google, who was president of the United States of America in 2015?
Barack Obama served as president of the United States from 2009 until 2017.
2017. So if we have numbers in 2018 that were lower than 2019, and 2019 is only 69,000, or when I say only, I mean that's still a crazy number, but 2018 was lower than 2019, then guess what? 2015 would be the record. And I don't even know how 2015 compares to previous administrations. What I'm trying to tell you is, here's what the news media is doing. They report during this week, hey, more than 100,000 children are being detained. It's a record number. This is outrageous. Oh, I'm sorry. That number's from 2015. We're going to delete it. They should not delete it. It should be there for everyone to know that in 2015, the United States of America was detaining 100,000 children. And they should show us the images of those children being detained. Because that still may make people hate the immigration policy. But if you're going to hate the immigration policy, you hate the immigration policy no matter who the president is. No matter who it is. But if all you're telling me is you're just going to use it because you hate Trump, and what if the next Democrat president does the same thing? Because I think most thoughtful people realize that you have to regulate the number of people entering into your country, because if you don't, and you just let anyone in and everyone in with no rhyme and no reason, the social structure will ultimately collapse. You will not be able to provide the social services needed. Things will start falling apart. Things will collapse. And you're going to have a major problem on your hands. You have to regulate it. You have to know who's entering into your country, why they are here. You need to have some understanding for national security and for the protection of social services, or they will ultimately collapse. That's not about being a Republican. That's not about being a Democrat. But this is all about the truth. First, we want the truth. And then we don't want a news media that goes, hey, more than 100,000 children are being detained in the United States of America in immigration detention centers. What do you think about that? Isn't that bad? What can we do about it? Well, this is happening under the Trump administration, so this is destroying children's lives. This is a negative thing. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, wait a minute. Those numbers are from when? 2015? Okay, we are going to delete the story. Don't delete it. Just add a correction. In 2015, President Barack Obama and his administration detained over 100,000 children and kept them in immigration detention centers. In 2016, the number was this. 2017, the number was this. 2018, the number was this. 2019, the number was this. For greater context, we're going to show you what the number of children in detention centers have been going back to the first President Bush. We'll go from Reagan all the way to Trump. From Reagan to Trump, here is a graph showing you the numbers. See, it spiked here, it lowered here, it spiked here, it lowered here. Why do the numbers increase or decrease? Was it a change in immigration policy in the United States of America? What was it? Was it a change in who was being detained? What happened? And then look at but no. They got a number. The number doesn't fit a narrative. The narrative is evil Trump is detaining children because he's a monster and he's a racist. Wait, this doesn't fit said narrative. Delete it. Now, what are we supposed to do? We are to pursue truth. We don't care what party. It's not about Trump. This is not about Obama. This is not about immigration policy. This is about facts. And as Christians, we need to love the truth, pursue the truth, and speak the truth. The truth. And sadly, what's going to happen, it's becoming almost impossible to trust the corporate news media. We're going to have more average people becoming journalists and doing podcasts and blogs and creating social media accounts, not to post pictures of their dog and their children and to talk about what they had for supper, but to post facts. Not having an agenda on your own. Facts. We just need people posting facts. Truth. Context. Yeah. All these people are being detained. Yeah. How did they get there? Oh, they were caught entering into a country illegally. You do realize the United States of America is not the only country that has laws about how you enter into a country. You do realize not only countries have those kinds of laws, businesses have those laws. People who own homes have those laws. People who own land have no trespassing signs, and they're not too happy if they find people on their land illegally. Right? These are just basic rules. That's context. Oh, all these children are being detained? Yeah, that's horrible. You do realize the number was more than 100,000 in 2015, right? That means that Trump is doing he has fewer children locked up than Obama did. Does that mean anything to you? What should be done with the children? How should we handle it? Do we just let everyone in? That sounds great until social structure begins to collapse and social services begin to fall apart. How do we think about this? We need a nuanced, thoughtful approach. Cannot be resolved on social media. You can't debate these issues. Thoughtful, fact-based, but at the same time, we have to view the illegal immigrants as human beings. We don't start using racist terms and try to just make them out to be monsters. They're human beings created in the image of God. And yes, that story about the 3-year-old, I know I was reading it in a mocking way, but I'm reading it in a mocking way because the person's being used for that news media's agenda. Because they have a report there that gives you a 69,000 number saying it's a record number, but they're comparing it to the previous year, but they don't compare it to 2015. That's misleading. That's not news. So they're using that tragedy. They are the ones making a mockery out of that tragedy because they're using that tragedy for their agenda. They don't care about that person because if they did, they would have cared about those kinds of kids and those kinds of stories happening in 2015. And even then, I don't know when. I would have to go back to that AP story. I don't even know if they give us the year that 3-year-old and their father entered into the country and when she was placed in foster care and when the sexual abuse occurred. And if she was placed in foster care, they were trying to provide her a family to live with. Now, the fact that when many foster children end up in horrible situations and are abused, yeah, that's a different tragedy, right? I don't know if that's not the immigration policy. That's the foster care system policy, right? So, I mean, again, even that, they're just trying to lump things together, but they're doing so for a narrative. So it makes the story a mockery. I'm not mocking, obviously, the suffering, because the suffering is horrible, but it makes me mad that the news media wants to use it to create a narrative that's not actually factual. And now what they're going to do is they're just going to delete it so that you'll never know the actual number. And the average person is not going to sit there and look it all up. That's the news media in 2019. All right, I'll stop right there. I apologize if some of that kind of got out of chronological order because, as I said, I was doing a live broadcast earlier and then we lost the feed because something happened. And So when I started again, it was hard to remember what I'd already said in the previous broadcast versus the new broadcast. But I hope that all of that information there will be beneficial. All right. So there you have it. Again, keep this in perspective. Truth. Facts. All right. Thank you for listening to this live broadcast. If we get any more information about the deletion of this story and how the news media is going to handle this, I may do another update and just may grab some audio from some reports and post it. But I just found it. I couldn't believe that, hey, we're just going to delete the story. And a number of people on social media called the news agency out on it. Why are you going to delete the story? Just correct it. Keep the story. And all you got to do is add, in 2015, more than 100,000 children were being detained under the Obama administration. Because you always point out, the Trump administration, point out the Obama administration. Post the story. But for some reason, they're going to delete it. They're not going to correct it. If that doesn't seem suspicious and cause you to question their motives, I don't know what does. All right, we'll stop right there. Everyone have a great day. God bless.